What's going on, guys? Okay, we're diving into the fat loss accelerator. So we're going to be giving you the foundational basic pieces that are simple, actionable, digestible. And the first thing, take out a notepad. I'm going to give you guys a second. Go and grab one. Get that going. If it's going to be on your computer, on your notepad, pull that out. And basically what you want to be doing is on this initial page, you're going to want to have what my mentor says is basically you want to have your top three actionable steps. So have actionables, have takeaways on the other side. Hi, Rebecca. So having the actionables and the takeaways. So the takeaways would be like the top 10 takeaways and then actionable steps. You want to keep that very minuscule. You don't want to be taking on too much where it becomes overwhelming. You can't apply it. Knowledge isn't power, applied knowledge is power. Even if you just take one golden nugget and one tweak and one thing away from this call, that could be like a huge difference on just implementation. Because the thing is, you can have all this information, you can find everything online, but if you don't do it in a digestible way where it's not going to feel like it's way too much and it's too daunting, it's going to be really difficult to be able to take action. And like that's where the magic happens. So let's dive right into it. So let me just pull this up here real quick. Alrighty. Should be able to see this in just a sec. Okay, there we go. Fat loss accelerator. So we're going to be going into the pitfalls for trying to tone up or losing fat. So the biggest ones are having too much processed foods. So there's actually there was a study done where a guy on social media that also was very versed in the health space, he went and had processed foods for about 80% of his nutrition throughout a 30-day period, like 20% just regular food. And at the end of the 30 days, his hormones were out of whack, where there's two different hormones that come into play when it comes to you being hungry and like ravenous and staying satisfied and satiated. So when you have processed foods on a consistent long-term basis, it's very calorically dense, but also it has very similar effects to drugs, where neurologically his brain was firing specific areas of his brain that are equivalent to a drug addict. See, first of all, just get addicted to it, but then also the hormones being out of whack, where your ghrelin and your leptin are completely out of whack. Your leptin decreases, your ghrelin increases. So ghrelin is the hormone that actually tells you that you're hungry. Leptin is the hormone that tells you that you're satisfied and that you're full. So leptin decreases, ghrelin increases. So not only are you not going to be satisfied, you're just going to be hungry than you normally are. So it's just really difficult. Plus the foods that you're having are calorically dense. So it's really difficult to stay on track with that. And then number one is not tracking or weighing your food. Or if you haven't watched the training that we did about hidden calories, we do have it in the featured section where we dive much further into why you need to be tracking and weighing your food. But like with tracking, you have no awareness. If you're going into it where you are telling yourself that you're eating healthy and it's all about your workouts, that's probably your first mistake. Like, especially if your weight isn't moving, you're not seeing the progress that you want to see, you can never out train a bad diet, which we have trying to out train a bad diet right here. So basically, if you are eating more calories than your body is burning, you will put on weight. If you're burning more calories than you're putting in, you will lose weight. If you're just burning the same amount that you're eating, you're going to maintain, you're not going to weight, you're not going to gain weight, you're not going to lose weight. So when you track your food, you're going to get a much better gauge on where your calories are on a day-to-day basis, on a week-to-week basis, because your calories are not based off of a day-to-day. They're based off of a week-to-week. So if you add all 7 days together, like you track your food for a week, you add all those 7 days together and you divide that by 7 for how many days are in the week, it'll tell you what your average of calories are for the week. And if you take your Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, which a lot of people on the weekend, they go into like vacation mode, I have days off from work, so I have days off from my health. So then they just kind of go with the motions and don't really have a plan or anything prepped going into the weekend. They just go with the flow. And typically going with the flow goes up for going out for food, going out for drinks, having convenient things that are typically processed foods or calorically dense, or things, even if you're not going out to eat, a lot of foods that people deem healthy, like peanut butter or like avocados or nuts, Like they're actually like they're very good with micronutrients and nutrient dense, but they are also fat dense. They have a bunch of calories condensed where it's really easy to overeat. So if you're not tracking or weighing your food, even if you're just tracking your food but you're not weighing it, you're not going to understand the portions and like how much that you need to be having. If you're just ballparking and eyeballing it, I've been doing this for 7 years. You can't eyeball. Like you can be like once after 7 years, I'm like within 25%, 30% of like where I'm supposed to be at. Sometimes I'll have it like right on the dot, but that doesn't happen very often. I've tested it out just for the sake of testing it out. And I have like when I don't do that, I typically will start to regress. I'll start to take steps backwards. And then foods that you choose don't fill you up. So processed foods, things that are heavy in fats, things that are not going that don't have fiber, don't have protein, that are just like sugars, like simple sugars, like that kind of stuff is also not going to fill you up a whole lot. It's going to be really difficult to stick to that, especially with processed foods. And lack of sleep. This also messes with your ghrelin. So like it'll actually increase your ghrelin as well, where it'll make you hungrier if you don't get enough sleep and decrease your leptin as well. So like processed foods and lack of sleep actually have very similar effects when it comes to your hormones. And then wrong types of exercising, like you're doing just long, rigorous, like long distance running or cardio, where you're just going for a long period of time, where that can actually lower your metabolism and cause you to actually have muscle atrophy, and you start to deplete your metabolism versus boosting your metabolism. Like with doing like high intensity interval training, where you have those intervals of rest in between to give your body a little bit of time to recover, or actually strength training to build more muscle. Because when your body weighs more, you burn more calories. And with having a good, healthy weight put on, with putting on more muscle, you're going to see more toning, you're going to see more definition, it's going to boost your metabolism, you're going to burn more calories, and because you have more muscle, you bring more intensity to your workouts. So then you can burn more calories as well too. So, and also having low intensity with your workouts where you're just kind of going into it, you're half-assing it, you're not really bringing a whole lot of energy to it, you're distracted with other things at the same time. Like maybe you work out at home and you have a bunch of distractions around you where like you don't have an actual dedicated space to work out, or like when you go to the gym, like you're kind of just moving it around, like you're not actually stimulating and breaking down the muscle fibers to basically build it back up and grow it and get stronger, which is going to help you change up body composition. You want, or like even with cardio, like if you're not going to be able to get to that elevated heart rate and burn the amount of calories that you want to be bringing, if you're just not bringing in like very good intensity into it, especially if you're looking to get toned and defined and be able to get like tight and loose in all the right places, bringing that intensity, super, super important. And then also having low water intake. You're going to have false hunger cues if you're not bringing in enough water. So like just bringing in like 90 to about 120 ounces per day. And yes, your coffee counts, your diet soda counts, your tea counts, anything that has water in it counts, except like alcohol. Do not count that. That's just going to dehydrate you to the max. Like do not count alcohol. It's just empty calories. But water, anything with water in it, as long as you're bringing 90 to about 120 ounces, that's going to help with you actually boosting your metabolism by up to 25% when you have about 16 to 30 ounces of water first thing in the morning. But then it also helps your energy level, so you can bring more of an energy to your workouts to then burn more calories, helps you stay satiated and stay full. Like I'd highly recommend having like a glass of water or two before you have a meal, so that way you're nice and satiated and you don't want to eat outside of it, because your body is going to produce false hunger signals if you're not having enough water. Just want to see what we got for comments here so far. Let's see here. Hi, Brigida. Getting enough hours of sleep and water intake is a struggle point. Well, we can definitely dive into that as we're continuing on with this. Just wanted to see if you guys have any comments or any questions. I will come out of the screen and like answer questions intermittently throughout this. So feel free to ask any questions or anything you guys want to be talking about into the comment section, and we'll have a Q&A at the end as well too. But let me just pull this back up. Alrighty. So coming into the mindset piece of things, what will it cost you if you don't do it? I'm gonna let that sit for a second. I'm gonna repeat it. What will it cost you if you don't do it? What will it potentially cost you if you don't do it? Because I know a lot of you, like a lot of people that I have talked to and have worked with, they have this belief system of like, oh, I'm not gonna let that happen. I'm not gonna let that potential outcome that's negative happen. Obviously, that's a great mindset to go into it with. That's great. That's awesome. But being realistic and approaching it the same way that you always have, when in the past it hasn't created the outcome that you wanted, where you aren't really planning things, like you're not really changing up your approach whatsoever, and you're just continuing on this path of like yo-yoing and like falling off and getting back on and falling off and getting back on. And like you have these periods of being motivated, you have these periods of like wanting to do things, but you haven't created sustainability around it, or like maybe you're just paralyzed to take action, or you're like, oh, this is pretty decent, this is okay, and like you're not super happy with where you're at, but like what would that cost you? Even if you're like doing decent, but like you're not doing to the point where you want to get to, it's always going to cost you at some level if you don't take action, if you don't start to move forward. Will it be potentially not being able to show up authentically as the best parent, the best mom, the best partner, like the best worker or business owner that you can? Is it like not being able to love yourself and not feeling good about yourself? Like I struggle with depression and anxiety a lot of my life. And exercise has been one of the only things that has brought me out of it, that has allowed me to think bigger, to be more confident, to show up strong for people that I need to show up strong for, so I can be able to create a ripple effect with my family, my community, and also just love myself mostly. Like that was my biggest thing, is like I did not want to get back into that place of depression and feeling at an all-time low. The amount of like bad decisions and energy that I brought to things was not good. It was providing a disservice to everybody around me. So I would heavily start to think about like, what's that like? Is it potential health issues? Is it like not having that functionality or that independence as you're getting older? Is it not being able to show up as strong as like as a parent, like a partner, like whatever it is? Start to get clear on whatever that is, because sometimes that's a very fueling piece to allow you to show up on those days that you don't want to. So if you want to change your life, you have to change your mind. So you want to create a vision, what you want to actually be creating for the long term. A big mistake that a lot of people make is they go into it where they just think that they're going to be going into it for an X amount of time. Okay, I'm going to fit into that wedding dress. I'm going to fit into that pair of jeans. I'm going to do this for this portion of the program. Okay, it's a 3-month program. I'm going to do it for 3 months. It's a 30-day thing. I'm going to do it for 30 days. It's a 21-day challenge. I'm going to do it for 21 days. And they have it in the back of their mind that as soon as this happens, I'm going to go back to what I was doing before. The results were created from you doing the things and the action steps that allowed you to get there. And if you go into it where it's like, oh, this is just a means to an end, this is just a matter of time, like it's like following like a restrictive diet that you can't do consistently, where you don't have any flexibility around it, you can't enjoy yourself with it, where it's just like you can't follow it, like it's not realistic to follow it consistently, and you almost take on this approach of like, I'm just going to go 100% and go all in and burn myself out and overextend myself. Whereas if you start to create like more of a vision, you can be okay with like some mistakes here and there and not showing up 100% here and there, but then also understanding the grand scheme of things of like, you want to feel fit, happy, healthy, be like crushing it as a mom, crushing it as a parent, crushing it as whatever it is, and then feeling like good taking your shirt off, like being able to wear that 2-piece in Mexico, turning people's heads, being able to keep up with your kids and be able to keep up with your grandkids, and just like all these, like whatever that vision is, and what is that greater version of yourself doing in the next 1, 2, 3, 5 years, 10 years? Like what is that person doing? What are their belief systems? What are their routines? What are their habits? What are their values? What are they against? Where do they draw the line of like, this is a boundary for me, this is not aligned with what I want? So then you start to get clear on that identity shift, on who you want to create, who you want to be. The thing is, like, it's all about making a lifestyle change. It's not about making some quick fixes and just doing some workouts and doing the nutrition. Those are obviously important pieces. Those are pieces of the puzzle. But if you're not doing it in a way where you're approaching it in a way where you're starting to like it, and like obviously there's going to be times you're not going to like it, you're going to do workouts that you don't want to do, and that's okay. Go into the expectation that there's going to be times you're going to feel run down, and you have that discipline that's going to outweigh you not wanting to do it. And that's where the vision, that's where the why of you doing this comes in. And being able to have that, like, that's going to help you stay like focused and laser focused and growing and always bringing it to that next level. Because if you don't have a vision and you just have like this milestone that you're going to achieve, like, I'm going to lose 10 pounds, I'm going to fit into that wedding dress, and then as soon as it happens, you have no vision after that. It's like, okay, I achieved it, woo, we're good. Like, if you go into it that way, like, it's just a matter of time until you fall off. So it's like, you got to be very real with yourself, and like being very like thinking bigger, getting yourself out, like, because a lot of us, we will start to think smaller, like, especially for those of you that are watching that are from Whitehorse or from a small town where It's very common for your tribe and the people you spend time with to think small, to like that are very unhealthy. They don't take care of themselves. They're negative. They almost you being healthy and wanting to grow and achieve things, they make you feel small. They make you feel like it's abnormal. Where like for example, here in Whitehorse, going out for drinks is normal. Drinking poison is normal. It's actually alcohol is one of the worst effects out of all the drugs that are out there, more than illegal drugs. But it's a normal thing because the tribe is doing it, we normalize it. And we're like, okay, we're going to do this. Eating healthy, working out, taking care of yourself, creating a healthy lifestyle, it's not a very common thing. Like, especially in like very small areas, because there's not a whole lot to do. Like, especially when there's a lot of darkness here in Whitehorse, where it's like 8 months of being shut in your house. It's understandable why it happens, but it's also like the more that you get clear in what you want to do, the more that you get clear on that vision of like what you want, what that line is, surrounding yourself with the right people. Like I just want everybody here to like take a second, like even write it out, go over it on a consistent basis, and always be focusing on that next level goal. Because with any goal, you're either growing, you're dying, you're either moving forwards or you're moving backwards. 97% of people are destined to basically start to slip back into old habits or not grow and just be stagnant. So I would start to really get clear on that, especially if you've achieved that first goal. What's the next goal? What's the next goal? What's the next goal? And like, why do you want to be doing it? Recommitting to it. But let's get back into it. Okay. So anything can be achieved with a strong enough why. So when it comes to creating a why, don't just create some surface level stuff where it's like, I just want to get healthy, I want to lose weight, I want to tone up. Those are all great things, but are they motivating? Like, are they going to create motivation when it's not there? Motivation is something that you create. It's not something that just exists. It's not something that's just going to be there because you want it to be there. The amount of times I've heard somebody say, I'm not motivated, that just means that they don't have a deep rooted reason. They haven't identified what that why is, what that vision is, what they want to create, the positive impact that is going to make in all these other areas of your life. Now you're like, everybody's like, oh, this is a fat loss accelerator. He's not teaching me about this. Consistency is where fat loss happens. Transformation is from consistency, and mindset is one of the most overlooked areas. If you don't get this down, it's going to decrease your chances of success significantly. So importance of like finding your motivation, like importance of a strong personal reason for weight loss and a lifestyle change, how your why will keep you disciplined even on hard days. And again, what will it cost you if you don't do it? And this is like an example of a vision board. So getting a vision board, like as you can see here, there's like running in the top right, like happy, healthy kids in the middle. Then they got like the wedding dress where they're both looking really good at the bottom because like maybe like the wedding dress and like looking for good for your wedding is something that you want to achieve. Having like yoga on the bottom left for like some self, or that's not yoga, that's meditation. some meditation in the bottom left corner to like help with some self-care and grounding yourself to like focus on your inner work with yourself. You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Like I love that. Or like progress over perfection, putting like a nice quote on there that you look at on a consistent basis. And what's required for weight loss? So plain and simple, you need to be in a calorie deficit. If you are burning more calories than you're bringing in, you will lose weight. You will lose fat. But if you're eating the same amount of calories that you're burning, you're going to maintain weight. If you're eating more calories than you're burning, you're going to gain weight. And the trick is making it sustainable. Anybody can go and do a fad diet. Anybody can go and like follow keto or like go and cut out, do paleo and like cut out specific things, do carnivore where it's just unenjoyable, where it sucks. Like carnivore works for some people, keto works for some people. Statistically, 99% of people it doesn't work for. Like it's something that they can do where they can see some immediate results. It's not something they like. Carbs are life to me. Like I need to eat my freaking carbs. Like it's also a very important fuel source for your mind, for your metabolism, for your energy levels on a day-to-day basis. So that's going to make a huge difference as well. And load up on high satiety food. So foods that satiate you. So you're less hungry and you can stay within the deficit. Because if you're just ravenous and you're hangry and you just like hate your life the whole time, that's not going to be fun. That's not going to be good. So like more fiber, more protein, more fruits, more veggies, like 3 to 4 servings of veggies, 100 grams of protein every day. Like obviously, I would start making one change at a time. Like maybe it's just having 100 grams of protein. Maybe it's just tracking your food, like which we talked about at the beginning, but like just tracking your food to create more overall awareness and like realizing the foods that you're having might just be heavy in fats and don't have a whole lot of protein, and like finding alternatives that do have higher protein. You can find protein bread. You can find protein pasta as well too. And then focusing on more activity versus bringing in less food. the thing is if you just go have a very sedentary life and you're going from like eating abundance of food to bringing it down to a healthy deficit where you have little to no activity, you're probably going to be bringing in a lot less than you would hope that you would bring in. Whereas if you're burning more calories, you'll be able to eat more food because again, you're burning more calories. So then you can be able to counteract that a little bit and have a little bit more food, which then makes it a bit more sustainable. So, and also creating systems to create consistency and sustainability. And if you, in the words of Jordan Peterson, if you don't have a schedule, get a damn schedule. Like start scheduling in non-negotiable time for your meal prep, for your workouts, for self-care, for making sure that you have your kids' soccer practice and chores that you have to do so you can just brain dump and not have to rely on your ability to remember to do things. You guys have so much stuff to focus on, especially with most of you being moms or just busy women in this group. You have a lot of stuff on the go. Having to try and rely on your ability to remember to do things, like you're going to forget things. You're going to double book yourself. You're going to be all over the place like a chicken with its head cut off and think that you have very little to no time when you don't have a schedule. But when you start to schedule your time and budget your time, you start to create more of an abundance of time and also just better understand strategically where to be placing your time and energy as well. And also to meal prep. Meal prep is very important. So yeah, tracking your food. So like getting MyFitnessPal, eat this much. MyFitnessPal is a great place to start. Has a very big database. Eat this much is also great for like meal planning and tracking. And so I'd start doing that even just for like an entire 1 to 2 weeks. Get a little bit more clarity in what your food patterns look like and realize like how much that you're actually having on the weekend versus the weekdays and kind of seeing where it starts to run. And maybe you're noticing that you're kind of a nighttime snacker. Maybe you need to have more calories later in the day and have less during the start of the day. And then you can start to make those educated decisions. Having fasting windows are great as well, where you start to maybe you have like your first meal, then you fast from like 11:30, 12 o'clock until like 5 o'clock, 5:30, and you just have a specific time that you're not eating food. You drink your water, maybe chew some gum, get distracted with work while you're busy with other things. So a lot of the time we'll just eat out of boredom. So if you're able to place more calories later in the day, that'll actually help with you losing weight. And for those of you that have the myth in your head where you think you're going to gain weight when you have food too late in the evening, that's just BS. Like it's just the amount of calories that you're having on a day to day, but most importantly on a week to week basis. And weighing your food. Again, like you need to have the proper portions. Like a tablespoon of peanut butter versus a heaping tablespoon of peanut butter can be hundreds of calories of difference. And to give you guys a little bit more perspective, to lose weight in a sustainable way, from where your maintenance calories are, like where you're not losing weight, you're not gaining weight, you need to have about 300 to about 500 calories less than your maintenance calories to be on a healthy deficit. You're not like losing muscle mass, you're not ravenous, you're not depleting your metabolism, where it's in a sustainable way where you don't hate your life the whole time. So if you have a couple hundred extra calories here and there incrementally throughout the day, you can easily bring yourself off of a deficit and even into a surplus where you start to even gain weight at a certain point. And then 100 grams of protein per day, or you can also go with a gram of protein per pound of goal body weight. Like let's say that like you're like 200 or 300 pounds and you're trying to get down to eventually the end goal is 160 pounds, then like you can have 160 grams of protein. That's going to be very beneficial. Make the healthier food more convenient so it's easier to choose. So meal prepping, getting all that stuff ready, having veggies in a very visible place, have your fruit like in a bowl in the middle of your table. 10K steps a day or just getting more steps in throughout the day so you can burn more calories. Like 10K steps a day and 7 days a week, you burn an additional 3,500 calories, which is equivalent to 1 pound of fat. And avoid eating out as much as possible. They don't care if you lose weight, they just want it to taste good. So it could be easily cooked with butter. It could have a bunch of additional things that you didn't know that it had, and it has 25 to 30% more calories than you thought. I would typically go with something measurable off the menu, like an 8-ounce steak with like some mashed potatoes or some veggies ideally on the side, and go for something measurable that you can actually track when you're tracking your food. Most of the time I would try and just avoid it and just make that stuff at home if you can. And high intensity interval training workouts, strength training workouts are going to be the best when it comes to fat burning. And also like sleeping enough so you can manage your hormones and your stress levels, water intake so you stay satiated. Also for your gut health, if you have bad gut health, getting like a probiotic and having more fiber to optimize your gut health. And there's also other foods that you can like look up as well too that will also be beneficial for your microbiome and your gut health. And managing your stress levels. When you have high cortisol levels, it's going to be really difficult to be, because your body actually starts to hold on to fat as well, and it like actually affects your metabolism. So making sure you're not as stressed out is going to make a big difference. Fat loss isn't created from a special workout plan or a special nutrition plan. It is from consistency. So like getting a successful morning routine down to set the tone for the day. Like what we have in our academy is what we call seek water, seek sunlight, seek activity, and reviewing your goals. So getting a bit of water in so you're nice and satiated, get your metabolism running up to 25%. Seek water, seek sunlight. So getting some sunlight outside, because that'll help with your circadian rhythm and just also just help with your mindset and your mental health. Activity, like getting in like a short walk, getting in your workout at the start of the day. Because honestly, with workouts, consistently, statistically, people will get their workouts in more consistently in the morning because there's more potential for things to happen later in the day. So you can just get it out of the way, set the tone for the day, and you're not going to regret not getting it in, and it's going to just decrease the chances of something happening later in the day. And then reviewing your goals. So going over that why, going over that vision once a day. Manifestation is a very overlooked thing that people think is just BS, or like it's just like wishy-washy, but like creating a vision and will actually allow you to find more opportunities and help you stay focused. And setting boundaries. I only got a couple of minutes till I gotta hop into another call here, but like I'm just gonna rapid fire this stuff. So setting boundaries and non-negotiable times, especially as moms, you guys overextend yourselves. You constantly are people pleasing and showing up for everybody else and putting yourself last. You can't pour from an empty cup. This is just as important as a doctor's appointment. Treat it as such. Plug it into your schedule. Make sure it's on a reoccurring basis. It is required for you to be at your best, to have more energy, to have more mental clarity. And you can't rely on your ability to remember to do things. Scheduling and planning and like also communicating that with your family and your partner will make a massive difference. And boundaries will allow you to free up bandwidth and mental clarity so you can show up strong for everybody else. And then focusing on baby steps over no steps. So like 25% is better than 0%. A 10-minute workout is better than no workout. Focus on building habits. To brush your teeth takes a couple of minutes. You're not doing it for a significant amount of time. Like doing a small workout, that's still one step closer to building a habit, to building a routine. Even if it doesn't feel significant, it's still a step in the right direction. Even if you don't hit your nutrition 100% of the way, just track your food to create more awareness around it and build the habit of tracking your food. And instead of trying to hit everything perfectly for nutrition, prioritizing water, protein, and fiber first will go a long way to help you stay satiated and not overeat. And then I'll also prep for like 1 to 2 days instead of trying to prep for 5 to 7 days so it feels less daunting and less overwhelming. And then also lower your standards when things get crazy. When you get really stressed out, you can't show up at 100% when you're really stressed out and you're really busy. Bring your standards down a bit. Life is not about how you survive the storm, but how you dance in the rain. I really hope you guys like that training. 5 a.m. workouts. Let's go, Caroline. Heck yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Well, I'm going to be hopping into another call here just in a sec. But if you guys have any other questions, anybody that's watching this as a replay or as a recording, I'd love to give you a little bit more information on this. But yeah, let's freaking crush it and end this week strong. I'll talk to you guys soon.